Richard.
All right, Mr. Dean, for your individual question, I want to ask you about a recent campaign ad of yours. It focuses on forgotten Tennessee. We've all seen it. Places where jobs have left, families can't get health care, and students can't get the skills they need. Forgotten Tennessee sounds a lot like President Trump's forgotten men and women from his victory speech. Are you trying to appeal to Trump supporters a little bit here?
Well, I'm trying to appeal to everyone, but no, it's not designed for that at all. I mean, I do think that there are people in Tennessee who are forgotten. I think the issue here is, particularly if you think of small towns and rural areas, the issues I'm talking about, which are public education, where these areas often don't have the tax base to do what they want to do with their schools. You have economic issues where they've lost jobs back in the 80s and 90s, they haven't gotten back. They don't have access to the internet, and their hospitals closing. And so these are folks I see as forgotten, and those are the issues I talk about in rural, suburban, and urban Tennessee. And I would throw in urban areas too, where kids in Nashville who might not be getting the education they need because of education issues, or issues that we have with hospitals, or the city of Memphis, where the poverty rate with African Americans is, I think, about 47%. And that should be unacceptable. And that's the people I'm talking about, the people I want to help.
Well, you've identified, folks, that you've identified the problem, but if you're elected governor, you're going to have to contend with the Republican legislature. So as you look at these different issues, knowing that they have not been willing to spend money on urban infrastructure, Medicaid, things like that, what are you going to do, I guess, to bring companies to these areas, providing the jobs, et cetera?
Well, let me, because the time is so limited on these, but let me just talk about Memphis for a minute. I think that we have got to say as a state that Memphis is in a different situation when it comes to economic development. I have done a lot of economic development work. We brought about 70,000 jobs to Nashville. But Memphis, every day, unlike Nashville, competes with states that are right next to it. They compete to maintain its tax base. They compete to keep their jobs. And we have to do more there. We have to say we're going to start winning some of these economic development battles there. And we're going to do everything that we can to maintain the tax base of Memphis so they can invest in schools and police and
But when it comes
parks.
to handling the Republican legislature.
Well, that's another. I'll be happy to answer that one too if you
I'll
give
you
time.
10 seconds.
All right. Look, I think
it quick,
it is not uncommon in America to have a governor of one party and a legislature of another. It's happened in Tennessee. Lamar Alexander, we had Democratic legislature. Phil Bredesen, second term, Republican legislature. Two of the most talked about governors in the country. Steve Bullock in Montana is a Democrat. Montana is Republican. Baker in Massachusetts, Republican. Democratic legislature. You got to reason, you got to work together, you got to be willing to compromise. It pushes people toward the middle. And you've got to use reason, but you've got to be realistic.
Okay, I hear your point.
I sure would like to respond to
absolutely. Go ahead, Mr. Fitzgerald.
You know, I'm concerned about this forgotten Tennessee thing.
Okay.
I live in a rural area. I live 50 miles from that city he's talking about, Memphis. They're not forgotten. I don't forget them. I haven't forgotten them in the 24 years that I've been in the legislature. It's just tough out there, and I'm glad to see the mayor coming down and visiting Memphis and visiting in West Tennessee and Middle Tennessee and East Tennessee. I've been visiting there all my life. I've been across this state a lot. So I don't like that. I'd rather say that there are those that are in the shadows of those skyscrapers that we need to help. They just need opportunity. They just need a little opportunity. It's not that they're forgotten. But
well, let me. You know, if you spend any time in Memphis, and I spent a lot of time in Memphis, and you talk to people, you can't go an hour or an hour and a half without somebody saying, everybody thinks that the state ends at the Tennessee River. Everybody thinks that we're not getting our fair share. Everybody thinks, and you hear that over and over and over again, and you hear it and I believe them. I think that people are very sincere, that they feel disengaged from our state. And then what happened recently where the state legislature actually sought to punish Memphis for having the nerve to use its own parks.
All right. I'm going to end it there. I'll let you have one last word if you'd like to, just to keep it fair, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Well, no, I guess I'm getting a little semantic battle, but yes, there are many in the legislature that would just as soon Memphis wasn't in Tennessee. I'm just saying I'm not one of those. I understand Memphis. Okay. I understand what Memphis has in its future, and it's really good. And my motto in my campaign is we all do better when we all do better. So that means we don't need to forget about folks. We need to lift them up.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Fitzgerald. Bob?